with Hen's House Homeschooling. Happy September! September is National Preparedness Month, and I am super excited because our family is very passionate about the preparedness cause. Only 50-ish% of Americans feel like they are prepared if there were an emergency or a disaster. And so what National Preparedness Month does is it kind of reminds us like, hey, as a country, we need to be prepared in case of like natural disasters, in case of a pandemic. Let's see, 2024 brought riots. A lot of people kind of lost their jobs during that time or had to have reduced hours. So preparedness may mean something different for each family, but it is something that we need to still be able to focus on. If there's a natural disaster, it can take up to 72 hours before we can actually receive help. And then that also depends on like what kind of damage there is, what could be going on. So we need to be prepared in case anything. It looks different for each person. In our area, so we live in South Georgia, and in our area we have hurricanes, we have flooding, which is what gets us in our particular location, and tornadoes also. Somehow or another, we just have a lot of tornadoes in our area. And I guess I didn't realize that growing up until I became an adult and went, oh my goodness, there are tornadoes everywhere. But what it is we want to make sure that we are starting the conversation, because this year's theme for National Preparedness Month is start the conversation. So we want to start the conversation with our fellow families. Things that we suggest doing as far as starting the conversation is talking to your direct family, who is in your household. Like, what would you do in case of an emergency, if something were to happen? And it doesn't even have to be like a natural disaster. It could be like, what do we do if there's a fire? Fire safety is very important. And from somebody who works from a who's worked in a security company, fires, they don't take that long to spread, and you need to have an exit strategy. You need to make sure your kids have an exit strategy in a meeting place. And we're going to talk about fire safety in a different episode. But for now, one of the ways that we as a family want to kind of start this conversation is to do this special project. It's a special series called Project Prepared. And we're going to be doing this throughout the month of September with fun tips and tricks. And you're going to see that like our kids are involved in all of the planning and preparing that we do. We don't, I wouldn't say we don't sugarcoat it. I mean, we probably don't make some things as bad as it could be, but we kind of make sure that they understand the situation so that they can be prepared for the situation. There's a study done that people who are prepared and who have thought out things are less likely to suffer from PTSD after an emergency or after a natural disaster. And so if we can maybe not have PTSD, that would be great. So mental health is very important. Also, if you've talked to your family, your friends, your neighbors, that gives you a community, okay? It gives you a sense of stability. It gives you, you don't stress as much. It lowers your anxiety. It may also help you financially, but it is really important to start the conversation with your family. So we start in our house, in our like actual physical house. We talk about that. And then we talk to our surrounding family, like who live in the area. And then we also talk to our family who lives way out of this area. And we also talk to our neighbors, and we talk to our friends, because if something does happen, really community is what everything boils down to, because you can't do everything on your own. It really does take a village. So I really encourage you to talk to your village. And it may be weird, and it might even be kind of awkward to be like, hey, you planning for a natural disaster? You planning for something? But it's a good conversation to have. And I'm going to give you a couple examples as to why it's important to have. We actually had an emergency last year with one of our daughters. She left her cell phone we have this hour, we had, not anymore, we had an hour where the kids would be dropped off before we got home. And she left her phone in my parents' car. So she did not have a phone here. And so what ended up happening was she ended up having an asthma attack. And her inhaler just wasn't cutting it. And so her one of her younger sisters ran to our neighbor's house because they know that if there is an emergency, we have neighbors that they can go to that are home. And the neighbors know that they are home, and they kind of also keep an eye out. Sense of community. So they were able to go over there, and he was able to call us. We were able to get home. We were able to help out with the situation. We did end up needing to go to the emergency room. But ultimately, because we had a plan in place, nobody panicked. We were able to handle the situation, and she was doing great. But that is just the kind of thing that's part of preparedness. Like, a lot of times we think like doomsday preppers, and we think like checklists, which is part of it. I like checklists. I'm a checklist person. But just things like that. We go through fire safety periodically, like where would we go if there's a fire? We do live in a mobile home, and mobile homes can burn down top to bottom in 16 minutes. So just saying, it's very limited time to get out. So we do things like make sure our kids can open the window. We make sure, like, where's the meeting point? If I ask my kids, where do we meet if there's a fire? They can tell me. And these are important things to have. So that's kind of emergency preparedness. But you also have disaster preparedness. Like, do you have enough food for 72 hours? Medicine, 72 hours, water for 72 hours. Like, can you survive 72 hours without having to go to the store is basically what that is. And can you survive maybe without power for 72 hours? Do you have flashlights? Do you have batteries? Just basic things like that. Do you have things that can patch up stuff? Like, if there's a storm, do you have duct tape? Do you have zip ties? Do you have tools that can help patch up a situation temporarily until you can get the help that you need? What else is there? Like, do you have inhalers? Stuff like that. So basically 72 hours. And then this is something, do you have 72 hours worth of food, but do you also have a way to cook it? So like our grill, not this past hurricane, but the hurricane before, so the one in 2023, actually took out our grill. We were very blessed. We didn't have a lot of damage. We had some limbs down and stuff, so we were very blessed on that. But our grill met with great demise. There was just no saving it. And so we're grillless. But community. So if there were a long time outage and we were like, okay, we might as well just cook this food, we have neighbors that do have grills, and they're like, hey, you can come and grill with us, bring food, we'll grill, we'll make a party, it'll be great. That is all about community. We did not have a generator the last hurricane, actually last two hurricanes. We're hopefully going to be amending that problem very soon. But we did not have a generator the last two hurricanes, but our neighbor, who is really awesome, he actually let us kind of feed off of his for our freezer and our refrigerator so that we didn't lose any of our cold food. That is community. That didn't just pop up one day. That started with a conversation. And then that started with a community, and him and my husband took turns filling up the generator. And we also have a lady who lives down the road who's elderly, and the gentlemen take turns going down there and checking on her during like bad weather and that, like, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? That is all community, and all this stuff happens because somebody started the conversation. And so that is what I am encouraging you to do. And this series in September, we are going to be planning. We're going to talk about planning. We're going to talk about like checklists, because I'm a checklist person. I have to get my stuff together. We're going to talk about kind of like financial preparedness. And I'm not talking like save $1 million. I'm not Dave Ramsey. But I am going to talk like just the idea of having some cash on hand, because just recently in the US, we had it to where technology went down, and people couldn't pay with a card. And as somebody who generally pays with my debit card, I wasn't able to go get gas. Now, thankfully, I did have cash on me, so I was able to go and fill up my gas tank because I did have some cash. But had I not had that cash, I would have just had to gone home because I wouldn't have had enough gas to continue on throughout my day. So these are just things to talk about as we go on, and I'm really excited to share this with y'all because this is something that our family is very passionate about. And I did not know, because I kind of grew up with this sense, I did not know that a lot of people did not know about preparedness. That was just something I just assumed everybody knew. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to be very positive. This is not like a doom and gloom thing. This is just life preparedness skills. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you're going to enjoy our future videos, and I hope that y'all have an absolutely amazing day. And I will see you in the next episode.